Hi, Paul here from Trekitt and Harry here from Trekitt as well behind the camera. You can't see him. We've come out today because it's much nicer doing this outdoors than it is in the shop. It's a lovely day, we've got lovely woods on our doorstep, so it would make perfect sense to come out and talk to you about the Osprey Kestrel 48. Now the Osprey Kestrel range, there's a number of sizes. Harry will put a link up here to the range that we stock, but today we're going to look at the 48. But the Kestrel range in particular is designed to be a real workhorse of a pack. It's just a really kind of sensible, versatile, tough, dependable pack that's just going to get on with the job with minimal fuss and carry your stuff in comfort and just get on with it. You know, it doesn't pretend to be super light, it doesn't pretend to be super cheap. It's just a really good all-round versatile pack. And this 48 litre in particular, it's a favourite size of mine because it kind of gives me a good discipline around packing. So if I'm going out, I could use this for a multi-day lightweight backpacking trip, or I could use it for a full day out winter hill walking where I'm taking extra kit, extra insulation, spare emergency kit, that kind of stuff. So what's the Kestrel made of? Well, the reason this is so dependable and so tough is it's made from a mixture of heavy duty nylons. So you've got a 210, a 420 and a 500D nylon. So those materials are used strategically throughout the pack. So the lighter weight through the main body, some heavier weight overlays where you're going to get main abrasion like over the front and the sides. And then down the bottom, this black panel is the 500D. That's where the pack gets the most abuse, where you're dropping it up and down on park benches like we are, or you're dropping it onto rocks, that kind of thing. So you can be absolutely assured that this pack is going to last you for years. It is really tough. I don't know if you're getting this message here. It's a tough, dependable rucksack. All of the fabric on this pack is treated with a DWR. That's a durable water repellency. Which means, you know, if you get caught out in a shower, it will repel rain and light snow, etc. But it's not waterproof, okay? So don't be under any illusion that the pack is waterproof. There is a rain cover included. I'll show you that in the feature set. But my advice would always be to use dry bags. Keep your kit in dry bags. It keeps your pack organised. It makes getting things easier, and it keeps them well protected and the contents dry. Okay, so that's it. It's a nice, super tough nylon, super reliable, nice and strong. Okay, so let's just go through the main features of the pack. Beep beep to you and all. Obviously a fan. So let's go through the main features. As you can see, it's a top loading pack, a traditional top loading pack. So access is down through a draw cord through the top of the pack, and that's held in place with the two straps at the front. So nice and simple and easy to get into. Also, a lot of people feel that this gives a slightly more weather resistant closure than a zip around. But to make sure that you get sort of that super duper ease of access into the pack, there is a big side zip here. So unzip that, and there you can see my beautifully organised kit inside the pack. This is all my own stuff. This is what I would carry normally for this type of pack. But you can see straight away that if I need to get to my spare clothing and food in here, I can whip that bag out without going down through the top. So you've got this massive side access zip down the front there. On the other side, it mirrors it with a zip, but this time it doesn't go into the main body of the pack. It just opens up a huge side pocket. Really handy, putting in tent poles, anything like that. Just shove them in down the side there. Okay, so let's just, those are kind of your main access points. Down at the bottom of the pack, let's work our way up from the bottom. It helps me to remember what I'm talking about as well. So right down at the bottom, you've got a little compartment where your rain cover is. Now I talked about stuff bags earlier, but if you don't want to use stuff bags, you just want to chuck everything in, you have got a rain cover here if you need it. That's attached to our little tether. You can take it off if you want to. If you don't want it, you can leave it at home. Like today, it's a nice sunny day, and you get an extra little pocket. But it does mean that if you are getting the rain cover out on a particularly blustery and windy day, you're not going to lose it. It's not going to disappear over the edge of a mountain. Like I said before, heavy duty material at the bottom. And then you've got another access point here. This takes you into a base compartment where traditionally I would keep my sleeping bag, and hey presto, there it is. So there's your base compartment, and that is separated at the moment from the main compartment by a fabric kind of diaphragm divider that sits there. If you wanted to, you could remove that completely, so you could just have one large compartment. It's entirely up to you. I just like to keep things separate. I'm a bit of a tidy head and I just like to know where things are. Also here, you've got these two straps at the bottom. Now, Osprey call these sleeping pad straps. So if you've got like a bulky foam sleep pad, they will go onto the bottom of there. If you don't want them, you can remove them completely. You just unthread the buckles here, unclip them at the top, and they will go off completely. Or if you need to compress the load up a little bit, there's not much in the pack, you can compress from the bottom using those straps. So really nice and useful. Okay, so talking about compression, whilst we're on it, we might as well move on to the straight jacket compression here. So you'll see on this front panel, let me just undo the lid, that the side compression straps are attached to this whole front panel here, and that gives what Osprey calls straight jacket compression. So when you pull them in, it actually just pulls the whole front of the pack towards the back, so it gives you a much more even and better distributed compression rather than just having the straps attached here and attached here. So you're actually compressing the whole front of the pack towards the back. And another neat little trick you can do at the on here is do reverse compression. So you've got a little fabric loop at the top here. So if you used to thread that strap through there and back over the front, same on the other side with the male part of the buckle, you can create extra compression straps on the front. Let's give them a twist the right way around. So if you wanted to attach, I know, a rope down the front here, crampons on the outside of this panel, you've got that facility. We'll show you a little close-up of that later. So that's your straight jacket compression. Really like that. It's a great feature of this bag, works superbly. Now underneath this front panel, you've got a big stretch pocket. So you can see this stretchy mesh at the side here. So this is a great place to keep either like a wet tent fly sheet or wet waterproof gear. I've got my over trousers in there, so if they were soggy and wet and I do want to put them in the main bag, that's a great place to keep them, because it's going to keep them separate, but also means they've got an opportunity to dry out a little more. You get some airflow thanks to this stretch mesh at the side. Continuing with the pocket theme, you've got this stretchy mesh side pockets here, and these will take your trusty Trekitt water bottle. Other water bottles are available, obviously not as good, but you know, trusty Trekitt water bottle. And the nice thing about this as well is you've got a heavier duty nylon at the bottom, so it's not just all mesh. You know, mesh is lightweight, breathable, but it is, you know, susceptible to damage, and you've just got that extra bit of reliability, bit of durability on the bottom of the fabric. And another nice feature of these pockets is because when you put the bottle in the top there, if you've got the pack on, you kind of got to dislocate your shoulder a little bit to get the bottle out. I find it particularly difficult. So there's a separate opening on the side here, which means the bottle sits at an angle underneath your arm. When you've got the pack on, it's much easier to get the bottle in and out like so without dislocating your shoulder. Always a bonus, always a bonus. I'm just going to refer back to this bottom compression strap here again. I just wanted to point out the way that this is attached onto the hip belt. So it attaches onto the outside of the hip belt. So when you really lock that into place, it really locks the hip belt onto your hips and transfers that load superbly. So if you're on really uneven ground, the pack is swaying around a little bit, you want to lock that load into position, really lamp these down tight, it's going to lock it down onto your hips. Really good feature. Okay, other pockets, you've got the twin pockets on the hip belt, whilst we're talking about it. Nice big 3D pockets that stay big and baggy even when the hip belt's done up tight. And then up at the top here, you've got really quick and easy access. There's a little nylon tab on the buckle, on the toggle, sorry, here. Literally grab hold of that, pull, and that opens the pack up really quickly. Great to get into nice and quickly. Then underneath there, you get this additional compression strap. It's on the Fastex buckle here, just click it in and out. So that helps to secure the load up at the top, but also gives you some extra storage. Great for plopping a rope over the top here and then tightening that down, keeping everything neat and tidy again. Underneath the lid, you've got a secure mesh pocket here. So I've got my car keys, they're on a little key clip, so if I'm getting stuff in and out of the pocket, they're not going to get lost. I've also popped my mobile phone in there just to keep it a bit more secure, keep it safe. And then on top of the pocket, there's another big zip pocket. So I've got hats and gloves, and I've got my water filter, GPS, compass, etc. tucked away in the top there. Told you I was a fan of dry bags. Everything is in a dry bag. So you've got your big water bottle pockets on the side, but if you're not a fan of water bottles and you prefer to use a hydration sleeve, you've got an external sleeve down here which goes behind the back system. The beauty of that is if you need to get your bladder out to refill it, you can whip it out without having to empty the pack out. So it just makes filling and emptying the bladder a lot easier. Just slides down there, and there's like a bellows section that actually bellows into the pack, not into your back, so it doesn't barrel the back system out, making it uncomfortable. Little clip up at the top, stop the bladder drooping down inside, and then you've got, you can literally just have the pipe coming out over whichever shoulder you want, and you've got twin elastic loops on either shoulder to locate the bite valve. So there's your hydration system built in. A couple of other little features as well. Whilst I've got the pack this way round, you'll see that you've got a fully adjustable sternum strap with a built-in emergency whistle, always handy. And one of my favourite features of Osprey packs is the rather cornily named Stow Go. But basically it means that you can, if you're using walking poles, I'm a big fan of walking poles, if you're on your Todd and on your own and you don't want to need your poles, maybe it's a bit rocky, a bit rough, you're not using them, you can easily attach them to the side of the pack by yourself without having to either dislocate your shoulder, get them into a pocket, or to find somebody to do it for you. Okay, so also moving down the front, we talked about the little loop at the top here to do that reverse straitjacket compression, but they continue all the way down. So you do get an option if you want to put some bungee straps or some accessory cord onto the front, just an extra lashing point. Same up on the top, extra lashing points if you need to attach loads of things to the outside of the bag. Personally, I'm not a big fan of extraneous stuff on the outside of the pack, but hey, if you've got to do it, then you've got to do it. And then also to make this a fully all year round pack, you get twin ice axe loops here, and they attach up through the compression strap up at the top to secure your ice axes, so you can, it's fully winter ready. So it's a really, really tough, versatile, feature rich pack. Not silly features that you don't need. These are all useful, well thought out features that make your life carrying the pack a lot more comfortable and just more enjoyable. You get out and enjoy your hiking. Okay, so any pack is only as good as its back system, and the Kestrel's is particularly good. It's quite straightforward. There's no nonsense, there's no unnecessary frills. It's a close contact back system, so it's there really to make sure that the load is stabilised and load weight is transferred to your hips superbly without moving that centre of gravity away from your back. So a great load lugger, like we talked about earlier. So the back system is made up of three main compartments. So number one, you've got light wire suspension. So basically that means you've got a light 3.5mm wire peripheral frame that runs around the pack here, which gives its stability. So you can't squash this down, it won't squash down, but it will twist from side to side because that lightweight flexible frame. And what that does is it helps to transfer the load. It's locked in down by the hip belts here, so it transfers the weight through that frame down onto the hips where you want most of the load to go. Number two, you've got the AirScape back panel here. So this is the bit that's in contact with your back. So you've got ridged foam sections here, ventilated foam around these orange sections here, and then up the middle you've got this kind of chimney effect, which is going to channel all the warm air and the moisture up and away from your back. Now, because of the shape of the back and because this AirScape panel is overlaid with a lightweight mesh, it does form a slight kind of trampoline air gap, but it's not as big as something that has got one of these big backs and a big sort of trampoline sprung. So it's not a sprung trampoline back, but it does give great stability, much more improved stability, but with good ventilation as well. And then you've also got the spacer mesh harness, so that's the shoulder straps and the hip belt, and it's called spacer mesh because it's a mesh with some spaces in, basically. That allows comfort and breathability again, and you've got over the front here where you're going to get sort of abrasion and rubbing from straps and buckles, etc. You've got your heavy duty nylon, then underneath you've got this nice lightweight spacer mesh foam overlaid with a mesh to keep it really comfortable, lightweight and breathable, but offering great load stability and weight transfer, particularly down to the hips. A nice function that I like of the hip belt as well is Osprey use a forward pull hip belt. It's going to be sometimes quite awkward to tighten up a hip belt. If you're pulling backwards, it's kind of unnatural. So with these, you can pull forwards and really lock that weight down onto your hips. And like I said earlier, you've got this extra compression strap again to really cinch that in, pull that weight in nice and tight. So that's your back system. Those are your three fundamental elements. Easy for me to say. It's available in two different back lengths. You've got small, medium and medium large. Now it's worth pointing out here that your back length, your torso length, will determine the size that you need rather than your height. So this is a medium large, this is 48 to 58 torso length. So your torso length is basically a measurement from the top of your iliac crest, that's the top of your hip bone, to a line level with your C7 vertebrae, which is the one kind of sticks out when you bend your head forward. So for me, it's from about here, top of my shoulders, to the top of my hips. Now I'm 6'3", but I've got a very short torso. All of my height is in my legs. You know, my hips are right up here, halfway up my back. So my torso length is about 47 centimeters. So this actually would be a little bit too long for me. I'd have to have this right down short. So I would go with a small medium in a Kestrel, but please have a look at the link here. Harry will put a link up to a video where you can measure your own back length, get some good tips on how to fit your rucksack. So it's available in two different lengths, but you also get some kind of fine tuning that's available. So here you've got your shoulder harness is kind of separate. It's on a Velcro pad, and you can simply move this up and down, line up the little birdie symbols with the arrow. So you've got loads of adjustments. So you can get a really fine-tuned fit to make sure that your load's carried comfortably. And it's really important. It's much like your footwear. You know, if you don't get your boot fit right, you're going to be uncomfortable. If you don't get your rucksack fit right, you're also going to be uncomfortable. So take some time, follow that link, go and have a look at our advice on rucksack fitting. Okay, so that's the back system. Okay, so there you have it. That's the Osprey Kestrel 48. I really like this little pack. It's the perfect companion for long days out in the hill, for ultralight backpacking adventures, hut-to-hut stuff where you're not carrying a tent, particularly very good, or even just some world travel. Because of its super strong fabrics and its nice, simple, but hugely effective back system, it's a really reliable companion for just about any activity you can throw at it. It's just great. It's a great workhorse. And so what I thought I'd do as well, just to give you an idea of the kind of stuff you can get in here, I've got my own kit in here, all in my little dry bags again. So I'll just quickly unload it and I'll show you what you can actually get in here. So bear in mind this is a 48 litre, okay? So up at the top, in the top pocket, I've got spare hat and gloves, bits and pieces like that. And here I've got my Garmin, my head torch and my soil water filter. And then underneath the lid, I've got my car keys and my phone. I won't get those out, don't want to lose them. In here, then I've got my waterproof jacket. I have got pack towel, first aid kit, that kind of stuff in there. I've got my jet boil. I've got my sleeping pad, Sinmat Ultralight Medium, if you need to know. I've got some spare insulation and, well, that's a down jacket, belay stops, that kind of thing. Spare clothing, a couple of packs of freeze-dried food in that one there. And then right down the bottom, like I showed you earlier, I've got my mountain equipment 3-season sleeping bag. So, oh, and then down the front, hey presto, waterproof over trousers. So I've got enough stuff in here for kind of 2-3 days, hut to hut. And I reckon, actually I was just saying to Harry as I was loading this up, I reckon if I had a good lightweight compact tent, I could get that in here as well. So that would make a really good compact sized you know, backpacking rucksack. It's amazing what you can get in here and it feels great on. So I'm going to sign off. We'll put some shots of me wearing the pack into the video as well, so you can get an idea how it fits me. And yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. Any comments or questions, please pop them in the section below. It's always good to hear from you. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, see you again soon. Toodaloo.